Welcome back, Pen Pals. This is Tom with Gold Spot Pens, and I apologize for the interruption. Mr. Penboy Roy, another pen YouTuber, had called me on my phone, and my Do Not Disturb settings were not set up properly, so his phone call ended up interrupting the live broadcast that we had just done, so I decided, hey, let's just do a take two. I'll delete the old one, and maybe this one will be a little bit better, a little bit more interesting, a little bit more concise and fun to watch. So this we have today is the Cross Wanderlust. This is a brand new collection from Cross based off the Century 2 model. And as you can see here, it comes in a few different finishes and 3 different modes. So we'll take a look at unboxing, and then we'll also talk about the pen, give you a few ideas about how these things write by doing a writing sample, and a little bit of a conclusion. So we have the Cross. This is a standard Cross gift box, a more modern Cross gift box with the lion head logo. And it says established 1846 in the USA. No longer made in the USA, by the way, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit. But we open up this two-part box here, and you see Cross again is logoed on the bottom base part of the box here. Pen lays on a nice satin, sort of silky feeling platform that's here with a black sash that goes over, and it's also held in by a couple of bands there. And then we have the little tab that we pull here to unveil what's underneath the box, which is a packet, and this includes the 2 fountain pen ink cartridges to start you off with, for the fountain pen, of course, and a Cross warranty, which is a limited lifetime warranty, along with an instruction manual that's in that little piece of paper there. So we got the pens themselves, which are quite beautiful. They are made with a multi-step patented process that actually starts off with a brass base and then builds up with layers of lacquer and I believe a sublimated printing process that was familiar. If anybody's collected Cross before, they would know that this was also in the Botanica and Masquerade collections that they apply this sort of finish. And it's the same concept as far as like it adapts an abstract sort of pattern in a variety of different colors with a metallic veining that's actually engraved and then filled in with a metallic finish that's in there. So not only do you have a very beautiful sort of swirly and colorful pattern that's on there, but you also have that additional depth of that engraved artwork that's along the barrel and cap of the pen. So the different finishes we have are the Antelope Canyon, then you have Borneo, this is Malta, and then Everest. So they do come in a fountain pen, which this is the fountain pen in the Antelope Canyon. Stainless steel nib, cartridge or converter filling system, of which I have the Cross cartridge installed here. You can use a converter. It is a Cross proprietary converter. It is the part number 8756 to be very, very specific. So it does not take a universal or Schmidt standard K5 type converter. It's only specific to use with Cross pens. Then you also have the Select Tip porous point rollerball. And I say select tip because that is also a unique proprietary technology to Cross, of which you could then exchange this rollerball type refill for a jumbo ballpoint refill or a porous point felt tip refill. So you have a few options there. So if you don't particularly care for the liquid ink of a rollerball, you could opt for the paste ink of a ballpoint or that sort of Sharpie feeling that you would get with using a porous point marker. And then, last but not least, or to at least me to not least, I know some people don't really care for these that much, the ballpoint mode, but these are the twist action ballpoints. Very convenient twist action mechanism. Deploys the Cross standard ballpoint, of which you would access by pulling off the top. Then you would unscrew the refill from the rest of the pen. So then in order to reinstall a different refill, you would screw it back in and then pop the top back on there, and you are in business. So these two are the ballpoint models. This, if you notice on the Everest, we have a silver veining that goes through there, kind of like the tops, the snow caps of a very tall mountain. And then on the Borneo and on Malta, we have gold appointments and gold veining on the pen. And then on the Antelope Canyon, you actually have rose gold, which I don't know if you can really see by kind of comparing the three finishes together, but these two are gold plated, and then this one is rose gold, which looks pretty nice, especially with the rose gold plated nib that's on there. So we talked a little bit about the finish. Let's talk a little bit about the size of the pen, which will put all the details as far as your capped, your uncapped, your posted size. We'll put that in the description below as soon as we finish up with this video, so you'll see all the details, especially also on the ballpoint and the rollerball mode, so you have an idea of how big this pen is. This pen is a thinner style. So if you're familiar with Cross, Cross makes pens that are pretty thin. Like this Classic Century is their iconic model. It's a very slender pen. This Century 2 model is about 1/8 of an inch thicker, but it's still a thin pen. So people who do prefer thin pens will enjoy this. They'll especially enjoy the fact that this section is pretty long and it doesn't have any screw threads, because this is a pull-off cap, which is a pretty tight cap also as well. So you see I'm kind of putting a little bit of force to get that on there, and then also as well to pop it off. It's a pretty tight cap, but it actually makes really well. It makes posting it very easy too, because the post is very, very tight. So this is a very tight cap. The section is ribbed, as you see here, so it does give you a nice hold from a texture point of view. Definitely won't have any issues slipping around with this part being a that sort of ribbed material that's there. And this has got the metal threads on the inner part of the barrel, and of course I said it was made of brass on the inside, so it does give you a little bit more weight than you would imagine a thin pen being, because it is made out of a brass base with the lacquer layers on top there, and of course you have the metal trimming and whatnot there as well. So we could actually just get right to a writing sample. So we could do that. I think I talked about the pen enough. I think I covered pretty much all the details that were in this. So sorry, I hit the camera. All right, so let's move this stuff aside. I'm gonna move these pens over here so you can still see them. And I'll get out my Rhodia pad. Oh, sorry, I keep hitting the camera today. What is going on? I have it too close, I guess. All right, so this is a stainless steel, rose gold plated, and you might see on here, it may look like it's a hallmark that has got a 14 karat gold or 18 karat gold hallmark on here, but that's just really, Cross imprints it, and it says the founding date plus USA, and then it has the nib grade, which this is a fine point, and then it says Cross underneath. So there's no gold hallmark or anything like that on there. It doesn't pretend to be gold. This is your stainless steel type of nib. Let's see if I can get a little closer here. Okay. And you can see this is a pretty dry writer. I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you guys. It is kind of I have a cartridge in here too, so it's not like it's not like filling it with the converter, which you would have the full complement of ink kind of going through and saturating the feed. It's a pretty dry writer. I mean, it is a fine point, so but it kind of leans more of like an extra fine, which requires a lot more delicate patience and smaller handwriting style. So I prefer a bit more of a wetter flow. So it really does have a very stingy, dry flow to the ink. Forces you to kind of have to narrow down your handwriting. It doesn't allow you to kind of do broad sweeping gestures, although this is the fine point. So the medium point, from what I've heard from most people, is that the medium or the broad for a cross tends to be a bit on the wetter side. But this fine point seems like it's pretty dry and almost like an extra fine. It definitely does not have, it has a pretty smooth feel. It doesn't have a scratchiness or anything to it. But the thing is, it also has, I feel, a small sweet spot. So as you can see here, I'm kind of like in its sweet spot right now. So overall, though, I mean, especially for somebody who I prefer a bit of a thicker pen, the thin pen is a bit on the more difficult side to kind of grasp a hold of, and it really is meant for people who prefer a very thin writing implement, of which I'm not going to judge here. Pens are in so many different shapes and sizes, and they're all meant for different people. So this is it's a great style, and it does have a nib that writes pretty fine. Like I mentioned, it's better for smaller handwriting styles that are a little bit more deliberate, a little bit on the slower side. But it's something that not my particular, not my particular bag that I would like, but definitely was for somebody out there. So we'll also take a look at too is the Malta, which I have in the Select Tip Rollerball, and we'll just give that a little go with writing it as well. So this is the Select Tip Rollerball. Now this, I feel, has a nice smooth flow for a rollerball. It has a very rich line that's on here. Let's just do a little smear test. I'm just curious. Yeah, it does smear a bit when you first write it on there. But this would allow you to write with some nice broad sweeping gestures and still have an even line that has a rich dark tone. But overall, same sort of issue, especially with it being capped. It's not a lightweight pen, so you do feel it in hand, but also at the same time it's very thin. So it is really for people who enjoy a thin writing implement. And we have the ballpoint. As you can see, the difference between these is still black ink, but with the ballpoint version versus a rollerball, of course, it's not as dark, not as rich. It's more of a paste ink, so it doesn't have that same deep sort of even flow to that line where you could kind of see sometimes, especially if you write very quickly, that the lightness of the color of where the line is picks up, and then kind of comes back down when a little bit more pressure is applied at certain other points of the letter. Yeah, so these have been probably one of the more successful Cross launches this year. I mean, Cross has come out with a few different pens in their Peerless and Townsend lines. They usually do the different Chinese zodiac signs, and they also do the Star Wars pens and other things. But this Wanderlust has actually been quite a pleasant supply. A pleasant surprise for us that people have been really taking to this design. It just looks beautiful. It's well made, and it just has like a certain opulence, a certain like a beautiful sort of look that is unique, and it's just overall is a really nice looking pen. I mean, as far as writing quality, especially for fountain pen enthusiasts, maybe if you need something a bit more with a richer flow, aim for the medium point. The fine is a little on the too fine side, and it's a little bit on the drier side. But hey, if you like dry pens, if you like writing with a drier pen, then that's good for you too. But also to note as well is that the converter is available separately for the fountain pen. But I mean, overall, I mean, these are just some beautiful, one of a kind type of pens that Cross did a really great job in producing. And you can find them at goldspot.com, so definitely check them out there if you're interested. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them below, or you can send me an email to tom@goldspot.com. And I appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll have more videos on the way the rest of this month. And as always, stay inky, my friends. Take care.